I want to introduce you to Mary Jo Zeller. She's at the top there, but she'll introduce herself in a second.
Good morning.
We're really fortunate here at the Arlington in that a lot of places might have a moving coordinator or somebody that kind of helps you a little on the move. We actually have a group called My Solutions that Mary Jo runs, and she is a senior move manager, which is a whole lot more than a moving coordinator, let me tell you. So she's the one that if you move to the Arlington, will sit with you, she'll do floor plans, and all of her services are free for you. The only thing you pay during the move is for packers and unpackers and the actual movers. Right. So she's a great person. She's got a lot of great ideas about decluttering and downsizing. And she's also somebody that as you start making a decision to move to a community, if you have an idea, we'd love to even have her meet with you ahead of time to just kind of start giving you some ideas and do some planning for you. Because sometimes it helps knowing what size of place do we need or how would my furniture work in that. So enough from me. I'm going to let Mary Jo talk now, and I get to mute myself. And there, you take it away, Mary Jo.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you for joining us. Now that there's this COVID and we're all kind of have this stay-at-home order, we thought today we'd talk about what we could be doing to prepare for a move. And I think one of the obvious, of course, is decluttering. And I think sometimes folks get overwhelmed with this. I always say we all have accumulation. For every bag you've carried into your house, you've not taken one out. So we're going to share a little theory about clutter and talk about some basic tips that maybe might jumpstart you. And our hope is that at least you're motivated maybe to tackle a closet, when after this presentation. Clutter is defined as anything that you own, possess, or do that does not enhance your life on a regular basis. So in America, for example, a great evolution of clutter is the storage industry. I think you've all seen in Naples in this past 2 years, the growth of self-storage units. And there's actually more self-storage units than there are McDonald's, if that gives you an idea of the volume. It's a $37 million industry. 65% of people who spend the money to self-storage already have garages. So again, I'm the lady who's about your stuff, and we all have stuff, and it's normal. I say for every bag you've carried in, you've not taken a bag out. So the longer you lived in your home, the more likely that you have this accumulation. And kind of our goal today is we want you to feel in control of your life, in control of your environment, and in control of your things. And so often in this process, what I hear is people, it's their things that are holding them back from the lifestyle that they want. So clutter is just one of those things. And so I don't think it's laziness that the people don't declutter. I think it's more of a lot of times people say, I don't know where to begin. I don't know what to do. So my question to you is, what are you worried about? What people say to me is they're worried about making the wrong decisions. And you have to start looking at your things as, what do I need versus what do I want? And it's not just about the piles of paper on the dining room table or the things on the floor. It's really anything in your home that stands between you and having the lifestyle that you want. Research shows that clutter is actually linked to creativity. It represents new ideas, open thinking, and where clutter is more of clinging to our old ideas, habits, and possessions. I thought clutter was all about organization, and this was one of those aha moments for me when I learned it's really more about kind of the emotion of the piece. Clutter in my home are things that were treasures to me yesterday. It might be old yearbooks, trophies, bridesmaids' dresses. The reality is all of these things that are in the past that we still own and we're hanging on to represent who we are. They're the stepping stones of our life. They got us to be who we are today. And you couldn't be here without them. But the reality is the value of those items is in the past. Peter Walsh is a renowned organizer, and he says there's 10 top excuses why we don't tackle our clutter. Number one, I might need it one day. Well, I think what you have to do is look at that item, and if you can't use it today, right now, for who you are and the way that you're living, you don't need it. If you look around at all the things that we have, I say we keep them a lot of times for what I call the just in case syndrome. For example, you might get a new set of pots and pans. You push the old ones further into the cabinet just in case something happens to the new ones. I also find if we have the space, we fill it. Again, I might need it one day, so I hang on to it because I have the space to do it. I spent the last 20 years in people's homes helping them downsize, and there's so many things that we just hang on to for no real current reason. The second reason we might not tackle clutter is we think it's too important to let go of the item, and I hear this a lot. I have found that about 80% of what you own is what I call ordinary household goods. These are things that are mass-produced, things that are easily replaceable. 20% of what you own is what I call a treasure, and these are items that have high sentimental value, monetary value, or things that are not easily replaced. One of the things you can do is go room by room and make a list of your treasures and have a plan, whether that's to move them to the Arlington, give them to family, sell them. But the reality is you can make no wrong decision in decluttering if you have a plan for your treasures. You want to keep them and showcase them somewhere in the house. I had a lady who had said she couldn't part with the napkin and napkin ring from her wedding. However, it was in a box in her basement and had been there over 40 years. So here's one of those, again, kind of measurements that you can say. If it's truly a treasure, then I need to enjoy it. I need to honor it, and I need to have it displayed in my home. If I'm just hanging on to it for the sake of hanging on to it, then it's truly not met that test. Excuse number 3 is, I can't get rid of it. It's worth a lot of money. Well, I find people hang on to things, they know what they paid for them, but they don't know what the current value is of that item. And they hang on to it because they think it's increased in value. So again, if that's the reason you're hanging on to it, then you need to find out the current value, because knowledge is power. You find out if it's truly worth the dollar you think, and if that's why you're hanging on to it. Find the value and make a decision. The things in your house, again, that I guess a good example I would give is I have family that hangs on to, say, a set of china. They feel it has value, and now in today's market, china has very little value. So things have changed, especially people who have collections. Usually you're very knowledgeable about the value of those collections. So again, don't hang on to something because you think it's worth money. Hang on to something because it gives you joy, and it's a treasure, and it's something that brings value to your current life. Excuse number 4 is, it's not that I own too much, it's that my house is too small. Now, if you have more things right now that you feel add to the clutter of your house, you know, we're talking here for most people making a lateral move to the Arlington or possibly downsizing. We all can reduce the number of things we have in our house. What I find is we're kind of emotional about our things, and there's an area in each of our homes that maybe is a challenge for us. Maybe for some it's their books, For others, it's their clothes. For some, it's the accumulation of paper. But again, maybe we're pretty organized and decluttered in other areas, but there's something that speaks to us that keeps us in an area that has more emotion. But the reality is less is better. I, for a long time, thought I needed to be more organized, but what I've realized, I just need less stuff. Excuse number 5, I don't have the time. Well, we have COVID time. We have all been forced to stay at home, and this is a great time to tackle and declutter and get rid of the extra stuff in your house. But in reality, we spend time on things that are important to us, our home and our relationships. So if you want to make a commitment to your home and the life that you want and the way you want to live it, then how much time are you willing to give to decluttering? My goal is no longer to get more done, but rather to have less to do, less stuff, and less to manage. Excuse number 6, I don't know how it got this way. Well, the reality is it doesn't matter how it got this way. What's more important is that you have a plan on how to tackle it and what to do with it now. Yes, it does help to understand how the clutter came into your home, but it's more about taking action. Don't dwell on the past. Don't beat yourself up if you've got a closet that's, when you open the door and things fall out. It's more about the future. Excuse number 7, it's not my problem, it's my spouse's, or fill in the blank. Sometimes we are all very different in our idiosyncrasies and what's important to us and how we accumulate and store things. And sometimes this can be friction among couples, and sometimes when it comes to making decisions about downsizing, we're not always on the same page about what to keep and not to keep. And again, it's honoring that other person and trying to come to some compromises through that. Excuse number 8, all this stuff is not mine. I'm holding it for someone else. Often I'm in houses where people have inherited, and they're wonderful stewards of possessions of people in the family who have been gone sometimes 25, 30 years. They're hanging on to photo albums. They're hanging on to, like I say, this person's treasures or their kids' things. If possessions are not yours, it's a good time to make a list of who they belong to or who you think might be interested in them, and give them a call and say, it's time to come get your trophies, your yearbooks, your wedding dresses. Does anybody want Great Aunt Martha's silver, whatever it is that you've been the storage for the family for? Set a deadline, have people pick it up, and if they don't pick it up by a deadline, then it goes in to make a decision of what to do with it after that. You've done a great job, you've honored it for all these years, but it's time to let go. Excuse number 9, it's overwhelming, and I think this is normal. I think you have to take a step back, break this into small tasks, and start with something easy. As I said, each of us have, in business they tell you to start your day with a difficult task and do the difficult task first. When you go to declutter, I say start with the easiest task. Maybe for you it's that kitchen junk drawer. You probably could go through it and get rid of old menus, broken rubber bands, pens that don't work, whatever is in that junk drawer, and do it in 5 minutes and be done with it. Start with the easy areas of your house and tackle those, and work up to the area that you know is going to be difficult for you. And of course, excuse number 10, just fill in the blank. Whatever you tell yourself why you can't start this. So my message is I want you to start to embrace decluttering. Recognize it as a source of things that come into your house. And again, I think what's important is the emotion of knowing it didn't start out as clutter. It started out as something useful, something that used to give you joy. I have people, I go to move them and they say, Mary Jo, I hate that picture. Then why would we move it? They really liked that picture maybe 20, 30 years ago when they purchased it, but it doesn't speak to them today. A lot of times people just ask me to give them permission to let go, and that's what I'm doing. The stuff doesn't make you happy when it becomes too much. William Morris says, have nothing in your home that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. One of the things too, as you do this, don't worry about perfection. I think that's what the organizing shows. We can watch things on HGTV and run out and buy bins and get color coding, and a lot of times people are just moving things from one area to another. This is a process, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you become, the easier it becomes to accomplish this. Oftentimes people will start, say, in their master bedroom closet. They'll declutter the whole house, go back to the closet, and be able to get rid of another 30% because it's just easier to let go. As you're looking at your possessions and making decisions, you come first. This is the time to make this about you. One of the things I challenge you to do is to focus on the space. So if you're organizing, say, for example, your den, and maybe you have piles of magazines by your comfortable chair or whatever it is, look at the space and decide how you want it to be and work towards that goal. What people do is they focus on what they're getting rid of instead of focusing on the goal of what they want it to look like once they've decluttered. And then you have to really think about what decluttering does for you, does it motivate you. All of my clients, and I've done probably over 5,000 moves to retirement communities, after folks have decluttered and moved, what they share with me is that they have a sense of calm, a sense of order, a sense of control, and their home truly reflects them. And I think it's important to have it reflect not only you, but who you are today. Because we're different. We're in different phases of our lives. So I get the pleasure of doing home visits, and typically I can walk into your home and probably in less than 4 minutes tell you where you spend your time. Most of us have 3 comfort zones. We eat, we sleep, and there's a place where we relax. So again, what's your vision for those spaces? What makes it uniquely yours? Do you entertain? Where do you go to find peace in your home? Where do you handle the practical issues like paying bills? Do you like to cook? But I find we're creatures of habit. You know what you use in your house and what is the extra. What's the just in case? Typically, we pull out the same frying pan, we grab the same hammer, we pull down the same cup, we wear the same 10 outfits. You know what you use, and that is what you need to build and declutter around. So how do you get organized? Of course, you need to set a couple of benchmarks as you touch things. You know, if you haven't used it in 2, 3, or 4 years, it probably isn't something that you need. So again, I don't care if you say 4 years, if I haven't used it, I'm going to get rid of it, or whether it's 2 years, set your own benchmark. But again, don't hang on to it just to hang on to it. Human nature is we have the space, we fill it, we go to the store, we buy things in bulk, buy one, get one free. Again, we just build and build this accumulation. But take the best of what you own, sort it out, you know, and say, how many of these do I really need? How many frying pans do you need? How many hammers? How many extension cords? Whatever it is, sort it out, and we're all different with that answer. What's going to make you comfortable? A little exercise you can try, if you're up for it, is while you're at home, over the next 10 days, leave on the kitchen counter everything that you've used in a 10-day period. That pretty much will tell you what to bring. The other little mantra I want you to keep and think of as you're doing this sorting and purging, think of the word Ohio and only handle it once. Typically, the categories are, again, to keep it because it brings you joy, to give it to family and friends, to donate it or sell it. Don't have a question pile that's bigger than what you've accomplished. Try and keep it to those first couple of categories. Another little tip Peter Walsh gives is he calls it the trash bag tango. If you took a bag every day for 1 week and walked around your house for 10 minutes and you filled it with trash, that would be one way to approach this. You could take a second bag, take 10 minutes and walk around your house and put in there things you want to donate, and take a third bag and fill it with things that you want to sell. So once you've bagged it, if you did this every day for a week, you will notice a huge difference in the accumulation and clutter in your home. If you do it for a month, everybody else will notice the difference in the clutter in your home. And the reality is, if you did 10 minutes a day for 3 months, you will have conquered the clutter. So again, break it down into small tasks, approach it by sorting and then purging, divide it into categories. We all set up our kitchens different ways. It might be all baking, all dry goods, all pots and pans, all utensils, but assign a space for everything in your home, or maybe simply keep a donation box by the garage door and just add to it and periodically take a run. During the COVID, right now, all of the key charities are open. They are accepting donations and they are scheduling pickups. So it's a good time to tackle and again, start to minimize what's in your home. The message today is that this is very doable. Again, break it into small projects. One of the things I like to do is go room by room. I like to finish a room, and that way I feel I have completed the task. What's going to happen to you that doesn't happen to me when I'm in somebody's home is the memories and the emotions attached. You're going to get distracted because you're going to pick up, say, a vase that you got on your trip to Italy, and then you're going to say, well, where's the bowl I got on my trip to Germany, and put it down and go look for the other bowl. And that's why I say maybe finish a room, because what people do is they go through room by room and their memories take them in all directions, and then they don't feel like they've accomplished anything. I'm going to leave you with my favorite quote. The size of your house is not related to the size of your soul, but the condition of your dwelling does reflect the condition of your mind, your body, and your spirit. Again, as part of the Arlington, I love what I do. I share with what I've learned from over 5,000 different moves, what people in the same situation have done. It's about putting together a personalized plan and making sure that you bring what you need and keep the treasures and create a new environment that reflects your lifestyle today. Thank you for taking the time today. And
you guys have any specific questions you might want to ask Mary Jo? Just any questions for her then?
Yeah, I would. I think when you're moving, what is the typical fees and the time to come up with all this? Now, and we don't have, like you mentioned that meeting we did, some people have a ton of clutter, and we don't. So when you're moving, what is a typical time frame, and what is a typical cost to move for we'll just say a 3-bedroom apartment? We live in a condo now. I'm just curious.
Well, I can tell you're organized because I don't see anything piled on that sofa behind you.
No, we don't allow that in our house.
Good for you.
So congratulations, you're ahead of the curve right there. So typically, with regard to putting together the moving plan, that's one of the things I work with. And as you mentioned, you moved a lot, and each time you declutter, while there's certain things that are universal in moving, a lot of it is a personalized approach. So typically what we would do is, once you decide and you know where you're moving to, then you can start planning for that space. So with regard to, say, a 3-bedroom apartment, as you can imagine, there's a huge variable what people have in those three bedrooms. Some people might have 2 china hutches. Some people might have a couple hundred books. Some people don't have a lot of incidentals. So again, I can only give you a range,
Okay.
and a lot also depends on what type of services you want. We like to recommend that folks use senior move managers. It's a one-step process. They come in and they will pack, but they pack with a keen eye. I love movers. I work with movers every day. But the moving industry is trained their workers. Typically, people are moving to bigger houses. So when a mover packs, they pack everything, because usually everything's going because they're going to a bigger space. And this is a very different type of move. Most of our residents are making a lateral move or downsizing somewhat. So again, there are the decision makers. The senior move managers are all about this. And so as they pack, they're organizing, they're labeling, they're trying their best to minimize the change and have everything go back in its place exactly the same. So again, to have somebody to pack, to have the men in the truck who do the heavy lifting and the physical move, and say to have then the senior move managers totally unpack. And what I mean by that, put everything away, put things in the linen closet, set up your kitchen, plug in your alarm clock and the lamps in your bedroom, all those types of things. A comprehensive move, you're looking probably somewhere around $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the volume of things.
Okay.
And that's for full service.
Right. All right. That's a good answer. That's all I wondered, because we've never done that before. We have hired movers to move the bigger things, but we usually move our smaller things. But this
Sure.
I don't think my wife would want to do that, because she said we've always packed in boxes and carried in the car and moved to the other place and so on. Because we've always stayed.
2 or 3 times ago, I said, I'm not doing this again.
Well,
see.
it is time to be good to yourself. And also what I find is that people who do this every day, they have great efficiencies. And you're not always saving that much money by schlepping yourself. And of course, moving into a campus like the Arlington is very different. There's hallways and elevators, and so it's a little longer schlep. And it doesn't change the bottom line that much.
Yeah.
The other advantage, of course, is that what we wish for you is that your move go as stress-free as possible, and that the move be over. And I always say there's an easy way and a hard way to do things. And sometimes we do the hard way. And my job is to hopefully point out an easier way, because what we want it to be is that the move is over and that you can start enjoying your lifestyle.
Right.
When we pack ourselves, people say to me all the time, they end up putting their life on hold. They'll get not in today's world, but before all of this, they'd say I'd get an invite to go to lunch with my friends. And I'm like, oh, I can't go, I'm moving. And yet during that 2-hour period, they accomplished nothing for the move. They didn't stay home and really tackle packing. So moving it is a stressor. And what we like to see happen is have it condensed as much as possible so that our lives aren't on hold.
Right.
We've all experienced that now with COVID. And that's exactly what we want to see as our lives open up and and get on with it, you know. So
Yeah,
I always feel,
moving for us would not be an issue because we are so adapt to that and we're not locked in. And we do have a wonderful place we live in, and that's the problem right now because we park underneath. We have an elevator that goes directly to our unit. We get off and we're in our unit. So that was the one thing that Arlington, when Gretchen took us on the tour, the one I liked was, I think you called it a penthouse unit or something. It had wooden floors in it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I like that unit, but it seemed like it was an awfully long way from the elevator. And I do have a little bit of a balance issue. And I
there's
don't know
some
where
that
you
are
park
close.
underneath.
I think, Wayne, there's some that are closer to elevators, and we tend to try to show people the very best views that we can, which means you go up high, you walk far. I usually tell people if distance, and that's why I said when you have an appointment, tell us if distance is a factor. We have some really nice, good size apartments that are very short from the elevators, where you could have a very similar situation with a short walk off the elevator from your car.
Yeah,
So,
we did see other units.
Yeah.
But that was the one particular that I liked myself, and it's probably gone now, but that it was an enjoyable looking view. It was an enjoyable size. We're in about 2,800 square feet right now, which we like.
Okay.
I like a den. And we have a 5,500 square feet up north, so that's a little different size. But in that one, we'd have to have help moving if we were going to move it. Hopefully, we can sell it sold.
They all want to sell them furnished, Wayne, and then people don't want to buy them furnished. They've got their own stuff.
We bought ours furnished most of the time. So,
yeah.
I've
done the same thing.
Yeah. So.
I find people will give you a great deal on their old furniture if you'll just not make them get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to give a little pitch for Mary Jo in that when she quoted the move, 3,000 to 5,000, that's pretty accurate. Normally, if you were doing this outside someplace else, you would want to tack about 2,000 to 3,000 more on because the planning and everything else usually costs money. Mary Jo is free for you because you're coming to the Arlington. I paid about 7,000 or 8,000 for my move with the senior move manager because I had to pay that planner, the Mary Jo person, to do all the planning. She's doing the planning, and then they're just doing the packing and organizing from there, which, so she sits with you and does floor plans sometimes over and over and over with some people, but she's great to work with for that. As you're looking at spaces, this is something I don't think we offer enough. As you're looking at spaces, if you come up to 1 or 2 floor plans here that you're kind of stuck between, I'm happy to have Mary Jo work on sort of placing furniture for free just to see what it's most. I know you've probably got a pretty good eye yourself for it, but she could probably lay some things out to go, yeah, this is how it would look for you with your furniture in it.
Yeah, we do a pretty good job at that. We're good at
Done
doing
a lot.
That.
Okay. Any other specific questions?
Not really.
Okay.
You said you have other units similar to that closer to the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there was none available when we were there looking. So if we decide to do this, and we have it really good where we are, other than we don't have the rest of the care and so on in a restaurant, but it's very easy to use this place.
Sure.
Is there some way you could, at some point, if we decide, yeah, we're going to do this, get on a list with Gretchen that says, we have this open now, or it could be
It's funny you should say that, Wayne. Right now, we don't have a wait list, but I currently have one being approved by the Office of Insurance Regulation in Florida. That when that's approved, probably in a few months, we will be launching one probably this summer, a wait list finally. And I would let Gretchen know, and I'll put that in your file here, that if we launch it, to be one of the first calls to you all just to see, would you like to get on the wait list? It'll be a fully refundable deposit, no risk. You don't lose your place on the list type of thing.
So it's a wait list for a specific unit.
I let you do up to 2 specific units. But you would give us your criteria of what you're looking for. Closer to the elevator, penthouse unit, Heron, whatever the names are.
Right.
And you can change that as you go, though.
Okay.
So you could call us in 6 months after being on the list and say, you know, take that one off and put this one on. It's the fact you are basically in line for everything in effect. We're just not calling you on anything that you didn't tell us you're interested in.
Right. Okay. And you have to have permission to do that?
Yes.
I'm an old salesman, so I've never had permission to call somebody and say, "Oh, I have that vehicle, or I have that thing, that lot you want."
Exactly. It's well, luckily it's good to be the boss. So I can make those decisions to do it. But yeah, we will be launching one probably this summer.
Okay.
And I would encourage you, there's really no risk to that. You get on the wait list and we see what comes up at that time. But keep touring with us and we can keep narrowing down what you might eventually want.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you all so much for attending today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Brett.
you.
Appreciate
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
it. Nice seeing you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Okay.
You guys stay
Bye-bye.
safe.